You can narrow it down to what's manageable.
All right. So it looks like we're already live, huh, Jindy? All right. Anyways, I think we're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the live this evening for the Dog Detox Summit. And as you can see, here are the surprise guests: Dr. Judy Morgan, Dr. Dee Blanco, and Dr. Barry Sands. And I know if you've watched the Dog Detox Summit, you've seen them all in their presentations. So, anyways, welcome everybody, and thank you so much for all the amazing comments, for participating in this summit. It's just, without you guys, it wouldn't have worked, obviously. So thank you so much for, your contribution. And I'm just cross-posting here and I'll be right back. Okay, sorry about that. I'm a little distracted. Well, I want to have a lot of people be part of this because it's really amazing. So anyways, tell me a little bit from, where you are, and also maybe I think seeing a few of your aha moments would be great. What did you learn? Just briefly, obviously, because yeah, we can't read all of it. But in any case, I would love to know where you're from and what you learned. And then I also, of course, want to give a huge thanks to the Pet Summits team: Isaac, Mitch, Rhiannon, Jindy, who's kind of moderating right now, and all of the other people from the Pet Summit team, because they have worked day and night to put this together. And they're such amazing people who have this vision of helping our animals to have better lives and to change our pet parents' lives. So thank you so much for all of that. And of course, I also wanted to give a huge thanks to our sponsors here: Doggy Biome, my friends over there from Animal Biome, Doggy Biome, and then also Intelligence of Nature, Zach Bush's company. They've also supported the summit. Both of them have supported it with their interviews as well. And then also Vengeance, who have great products, and Jason was on the summit as well. So thanks to you guys for making it happen, and for also focusing on that, basic support that all of the animals really need in order to be healthy, and supporting our pet parents here. And then I just wanted to remind you as well that there will be an encore weekend soon. So if you haven't gotten a chance to watch everything, there's still a chance. And feel free to also share it with your world so that they can benefit as well if you liked it. So, make sure you share it with them so they have a chance to watch. And then if you haven't already done so, make sure to download all the free gifts that came with the summit, all the ebooks, and there's also my little vaccine course that's available. So take advantage of it. All right. So we have a lot of people here coming from Phoenix. Oh, Steve Farrar, you're here too. Hi. I was trying to tag you a few times on Facebook, but somehow I couldn't make it happen. So thank you. Steve Farrar was doing a lecture on mushrooms, which is quite amazing. Hi, Angelo, Magda, Lillian, Debbie, Sandy, and Angela again, Sean. Hi, you guys. It's so good to see you all. And I know there's probably more people who are trickling in. So I want to just get started with a brief introduction of our people here. So most of you probably, I'm just going to go in around the clock here, starting with Judy Morgan. She probably doesn't really need much of an introduction. If you don't know her already, you've probably been living under a rock. But in any case, Judy Morgan is one of these people who is putting out so much information for pet parents, and she's one of these people who has such a huge heart and works around the clock basically to help our animals, help all of you. So thank you so much, Judy, for everything that you do. I learn from you as well, watching your lives. So thanks for that. And then we have Dr. Dee Blanco. I'm sure you remember her from the Holistic Dog Care Summit that was on not too long ago. And she's also one of these amazing people who shares so much information with people and is changing the world with her work. And since this is the Detox Summit, I don't know, you should have actually done that one because they call you Dr. Detox, right?
Yeah, they do.
So detoxification, if you have any questions on that, certainly Dr. Detox would be the person for sure to go to if you need more in-depth help, although I think she's trying to scale back, but who knows? Maybe we can keep her going a little bit longer. All right. And then we also have Dr. Barry Sands. And Dr. Barry Sands, she's very involved in energetics and really bridges the world of emergency medicine and alternative, holistic medicine, which I think is quite incredible. If you haven't had a chance to watch her presentation, it's really awesome. So anyways, thank you so much, ladies, for being here and for participating in this.
Thank you for inviting. It's an honor. Thank you so much, Odette.
Yeah, well, the
Thank
honor
you.
is mine for sure. All right, so I just want to do a brief little recap here. We went through a lot through this whole summit. We are at day 5 now. The summit is still going on for another day, so you still have access to day 5 tomorrow. So make sure you take advantage of that. But we started out with some detox basics where Dr. Blanco talked a lot about detoxification pathways and really kind of the basics that everybody really needs to understand, with basic support to provide your animals to support their natural detoxification, because the body kind of knows what to do really if it gets the support it needs. And then we talked about the microbiome with with Holly Gans, talked about the lymph system that also kind of move things around, and then the different phases of disease with Dr. Broadfoot, who basically shared a bit more about how toxins kind of move inside, from the outer layer into the inner aspects of the body, and how we can support that reversal to happen basically, and also allow the body to eliminate things rather than stop elimination, which I think is really important. And I always tell people when their animals have diarrhea or vomiting, I always say dilution is the solution to pollution. So let it happen.
Mhm.
And then Dr. Margot Roman, also an oldie in the holistic field, talked a little bit about ozone and its applications. And then Gary Richter, also an old timer. It seems like it's all old people. He talked about the endocannabinoid system. So in day 1, we learned about some new things, some newer things that we've discovered in medicine, including some of the lymph part that's coming from the brain, and then also the endocannabinoid system, which also is a bit newer in the medical field. And then on day 2, we went into Zach Bush's lecture on some glyphosate and some good stuff to help the gut and all the barriers to prevent more toxins to come in. And then Dr. Katie Kangas talked about dental health, which is very crucially important and a huge toxin to the body in that sense. I know it from my own experience, put me flat on my back for 10 years without knowing what it was. So try to figure that out quicker for your animals. And then Dr. Dodds talked a bit about vaccines, and Chelsea mentioned some things about food that were quite shocking. So all great information. And then also a bit about how we can test for some toxins, at least a few of them, through hair. And that was through Dr. Ava Frick, who did the senior dog care summit just it seems like a couple of weeks ago. It's probably been a month now, but anyways. And then on day 3, we moved into, water, how we can clean up our water and what the newer discoveries are on that. That was my contribution to that. And Dr. Katie Woodley, who hosted the Gut Summit, she talked about essential oils and how they help with detoxification. And then we also had some information on vitamins and minerals from Dr. Tobias, and fasting, how it helps with detoxification, from Dr. E.R. Bosco, also an old timer. I think he's been a vet even longer than you have, Dr. D,
Yes. Yeah.
Dr.
Yeah.
Morgan,
Yeah.
right?
Uh-huh. Even longer.
Yeah, so he's one of the original ones. So much love as well. And then we had and then we had Jason Donis talk a little bit about binders as well. And then day 4, we went into energetics. Probably my favorite day, in the sense that it just touches my heart a lot. I mean, we all know about toxins and all of that, but kind of the heart aspect of things is a little bit more where my focus is. And I know that you guys are very much on that same line and path. And that's what we're going to dive in a little bit more tonight, certainly. So, anyways, lots about the heart and energetics. And then on day 5, which is today, we had Adrian Gottschalk talk a little bit about how we can also take care of our environment and our own little plot of land a little bit better to help our animals that way. And then, of course, we had Judy Morgan. You talked about preservatives, not preventatives. Yeah, they could be preservatives on some level, but preventatives and how they affect the animals, fleas and ticks. And then Todd Cooney talked a little bit about homeopathy and how that can support the animals, especially after vaccines. And then Dr. Kendra Pope, she shared a lot about what we can do to help prevent cancer. And then if an animal does have cancer, how we can support them through that process, and also support their detoxification, because cancer is probably about the end result of toxins right before death. And then Steve Farrar, he talked about the mushrooms and how they can also help with the environment, and just the power of mushrooms. So anyways, that was a lot, right? If you guys watched all of these lectures or interviews and presentations, your head must be kind of exploding. So, but nevertheless, we're going to continue on that path right now. But in order to kind of get a little bit out of the head, because that's what we humans tend to do, we go into our heads and we go, we sort of have an easy time at losing the connection to our heart, which is something that our animals are very good at reminding us. But in anyways, to kind of get started, I am going to ask you, Dr. Very Sands, if you can just do a short little, I don't know what you call it, meditation or exercise to bring us into the heart, so that we can then get going with the subject that we're covering tonight.
Yeah, sure. If anyone watched my lecture, I talked about just getting in touch with your heart, and in a way that brings about a state of systemic coherence, where your heart is having a real conversation with your brain, and your brain is actually slowing down enough to listen. And the best way to do that is, really to start off by focusing your attention at the center of your heart. And what we could do right now is I'll just talk you guys through this. You can keep your eyes open, you can keep your eyes closed. It'll take about a minute or two, and then we'll get started. This is kind of getting all in connection with ourselves.
All right.
So get comfortable in your chair. You can sit however you'd like. Close your eyes. You can take a hand and put it over the center of your heart, because we know that where we touch our bodies is where our attention tends to go. So focus your attention at the center of your chest, over your heart space. Now start to breathe slower and deeper than you normally would. Perhaps 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. And do this for a few breaths. And as you're breathing in and out of your heart space, try to recall a memory or a moment in time where you had a sensation or a feeling or an emotion of love, care, appreciation, gratitude, joy, courage, pride, and recall that memory. Relive that memory. Remember the way it smelled, the sounds that you heard, the feelings that you had, the colors that you saw. Perhaps it was a certain taste or sensation on your feet, the wind in your face. And just sit with that memory. We'll do a couple of more breaths. Now, if your eyes are closed, you can open your eyes. Come back to the group and just be in that yummy sensation that of your memory. I don't know how anyone else is feeling, but I'm feeling a little, a little out there. My favorite memory, the place that I always love to go to, is this moment in time when I was in Bimini in the Bahamas, and I was swimming with a pod of dolphins. And these wild dolphins, and there was this one dolphin that just came right up to my face, and he was touching my nose with his nose, and it was a magical moment that just transcended me, beyond space and time. And it's just one of my go-to happy places. So
Wow, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
yeah.
I've been there myself, so I can relate how amazing that is. My dream is to go back there physically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And these techniques are called, this particular one just called a quick coherence, where you breathe slower and deeper than you normally would to get into your parasympathetic drive. You increase the vagal tone in your body, then pull in a regenerative emotion or feeling and relive it as if it's already happening, because it's almost like just going through space and time, going back to where you were for that feeling. And your body, the beauty about all of that is that your body does not know the difference between something you experience in real time or in this three-dimensional world, or something that's happening in your mind. Into the physiology of your body, it's all the same phenomenon.
Mm.
So you can go to happy places all the time and up-regulate good genes and through epigenetic mechanisms and all sorts of yummy hormones flowing through your system.
Mhm.
Surges of oxytocin and dopamine and serotonin. We're the greatest pharmacy we've ever met, and we walk around with it. So
It's great.
So we're our own polypharmacy, is that
we're our
what
own polypharmacy.
because we talked a little bit about that, but more in relation to what's in the water. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing that, to kind of bring that element of peace. And that's really what I wanted to, chat about this evening, is about how much change is happening. And for us poor little humans with our big brains, it's quite challenging to go through all of this. But interestingly, we have so many animals that are helping us and that have come into a lot more households. There are so many more people who now have animals after this pandemic. And I think it's because they're just coming in to help us with our little, yeah, with our challenge, because we're the only species who has a bit of a hard time staying connected, and we go into such survival mode and into our brains that we sort of lose the connection to our hearts, and then we end up just going from one drama to another. So I wanted to kind of open up the floor a little bit, because I know that a lot of, you know, my colleagues here are very much aware that it's difficult for humans when they have animals that are not healthy or other challenges that are happening. So um, maybe Dr. D, if you want to get started with just sharing a little bit of your wisdom and what you feel is helpful for people and how to navigate.
I think in my practice, because my primary modality is homeopathy and then functional medicine and Chinese medicine, but I certainly see the animals and their humans share the same state. In homeopathy, we call them states. And so I see this back and forth kind of thing. Often it's the animals will have the physical symptoms, the humans will have the emotional or psycho-emotional symptoms. But it doesn't even matter, because as long as you're in each other's morphic fields, if you could call it that, you eat with each other, you sleep with each other, you swim with each other, you go to work with each other. These are places where we share our energy fields. And so often it is, I find that the same homeopathic remedy can help, each other. So the animals are feeling our anxiety about being locked up, or about, wars around the world, or, the lack of a home or whatever. They're feeling all of that. And it's pretty hard not to share those spaces with our animals. So I think that, if you can use homeopathy, if you know how to, or if you know somebody who can help you with that, even Rescue Remedy or some of the flower essences, they're brilliant at helping the human and the animal navigate these really difficult, challenging times. And then also, like, really making sure you're giving that animal what it needs. So dogs love to walk. Most dogs love to walk. They love to smell their environment. They love to be stimulated by other things besides just the four walls of their home. Cats need to prey. Cats need to chase things. And so if you're able to do those kind of things, that's what a dog needs. And I think that helps them release energy. They need to be social. They need to, whether it's with the neighbor's dog or the park or whatever. These are the kinds of things I think we can do to support our animals, and whatever we need to take care of ourselves, then that's going to take care of our animals better. So giving yourself that meditation time or that extra sleep time, or making sure you take that walk for yourself, or making that daily salad, or whatever it is that really nurtures you, making sure, you do that for yourself, because every little bit of attention you give yourself to make yourself healthier, it's going to reflect in your animals.
Yeah, well said, because we're certainly not separate. And so whatever our animals really need or show us what they need will in turn help us as well, for sure. And especially the being in nature. I know, Barry, I'm sure you can share about that, right? And how that affects.
Yeah. Well, you mean like just walking in nature itself, or grounding,
Yeah,
or
and the energetic aspect of things.
Yeah, well, the world is a big place for sure. And it is so easy to get caught up in so many different things all the time. And whether it's, something happening globally, whether, what's happening in the world with the politics and the diseases and the injustices, whatever it is, to bringing it, into the moment in time where you're having mishaps in your house, or altercations with your family, or things with your animals, or so there's always some drama that's going to happen in our lives. And when we remember a couple of things that, one, the world is there to be our friend. You know, it's a big place, and nature is a part of us. We're not separate from anything. And if we need to rebalance ourselves, or to even ground ourselves in a state where we're just either maybe a little bit emotionally or mentally or just unbalanced, just going outside and barefoot in the dirt and standing there and connecting to the earth, maybe going near a tree. I've had a lot of moments in my life where I have leaned against trees and asked them for my healing. And, you know, it may sound kind of weird, but I could feel the energy and the support behind that. And these, whether or not it's a tangible or an imagined moment, the whatever becomes my reality in that moment feels important, and it is healing to me. Our animals are always doing stuff like that. As soon as they go outside, they're rolling in the dirt. They're getting it in and smelling and absorbing and grounding. You know, there's all these beautiful negative ions that are just teeming along the base of the planet, that's going to start to rebalance ourselves. We are truly energetic beings. You know, it made of trillions and billions and gazillions of molecules that never really touch. You know, we are 99.99999% energy and 0.00001% matter. You know, so why not embrace that energetics? And that's why homeopathy works so well in our patients, is because it's an energy phenomenon. When you have that right frequency with that right resonance, you know, this magic happens. It's either a dissolution of a problem or accumulation of things. And you know, it's so easy to tell someone to stop stressing, you know, but it's hard to do that. And like you were saying, there's a problem in the world today. There's a lot of people that are suffering with it mentally and emotionally, and their pets are picking up on that, or the pets are taking some of that from them and trying to balance and stabilize the family and the environment. In my practice in the emergency room, I'm grateful to be able to be in an emergency room setting. All these years, I've been doing it for 25, almost 30 years now, and that is where the Western medicine that we designed as physicians works. That's where it shines, in the emergency room. Everything else lends itself to functional medicine, and you know, all the beautiful things that we heard, you know, over these last few days, to help us navigate through the world in more chronic ways and for preventative care. But in the emergency room, I see extremely heightened emotions of anger and frustration and fear and irritability. All these negative emotions come up instantly, you know, when people are afraid for the loss of their pet. And I think a lot, I've always questioned why. Why is it that they become so out of their minds, you know, when something happens traumatically to their pet or something acutely? And it's usually because they're forced to be in their heart space. And all of a sudden, there's this really deep awareness and connection of their heart with their heart. And a lot of people may be uncomfortable about being in that space because it's unfamiliar and scary. Or, you know, that you're forced with the potential of loss. You know, you may lose this pet in that moment. So it's a very acute moment in time where people are challenged, you know, to really embrace the ability to ground themselves in, you know, the things that support them, you know, whether it's calling a friend or going out in nature, or, you know, hearing a song or some kind of music to take you into a space that grounds you again, that takes you out of that whirlwind of emotions that just, honestly, I think it makes you lose your mind sometimes, you know?
Yeah. It's amazing, you know, as a veterinarian, and I'm sure you guys can relate. I feel like I have a big secret. I'm working much more with the people than the animals, actually. That my actual work is really helping people heal.
I think that every veterinarian gets to that point in their career, every single veterinarian I've ever heard. I don't think, you know, I'm not dismissing what you're saying, but everybody gets to that point where you realize it's far more, especially with our companion animals. It's different with large animals, but even that, depending on if they're kind of more pet companion animals, but if it's a herd of cows, it's not always quite like that. But I think you're experiencing, I know veterinarians who have left the profession and gone into work in some sort of human profession because they knew that that was really where they could actually target more and help more in a profession that they felt was more needing of their services.
Yeah, yeah. Judy, I mean, I know you get so many people who come to you for help.
You know, interestingly, I heard a commercial on the radio the other day, and I think it was for like an air purifier. But one of their statements was that we spend 90% of our time, of our lives, inside.
Mm.
And so I looked over at my husband and I said, okay, 90%, that seems like a lot. Okay, well, that means we're outside 10%. That's only 2.4 hours a day. So 2.5 hours a day we're outside. So I started looking at our life and I said, do we spend 2.5 hours outside every day?
Yeah.
You know, and I'd like to think it's a lot more. And since we moved further south, we're outside a lot more than we were up north. And we are now up to 48 animals on the farm. So that requires a lot of outdoor time, which is wonderful. And, you know, what I would recommend for anyone who's having emotional problems, go hug a donkey. A rescue donkey is absolutely the best. I'm going to start offering donkey therapy on the farm because I've actually had met a friend over Facebook and then met her in person because she flew from Chicago to come here because she wanted to hug a donkey and shovel donkey poop. She's I don't know if she's on, but she's an ICU physician, respiratory therapist. So you can imagine, or respiratory. So you can imagine what her life has been like for the last 2 years dealing with COVID patients in ICU in a big city. And I think if we all think about that little 10% a day, like, do I even spend 10% of my day outside, and how? And if I'm inside 90% of the day, that means my dogs are inside 90% of the day. Some of my cats are indoor cats. Some do get to go out. But if we're inside 90%, most likely our animals are also in 90%. What can we do to change that? What can we do to flip that into I'm outside? Well, you can't be outside 90% unless you're sleeping outside. So, we'll take the sleeping out of the equation, but still, we don't spend near enough time outside breathing fresh, real air that's not filtered through something, getting real sunlight for, vitamin D, and, it's so mood changing. Last night we had one of those just killer thunderstorms. The lightning was close, the thunder was loud, the ozone smell in the air. My husband and I sat out on our porch under the tin roof, listening to it. We were watching the lightning, smelling that smell, and we both just went, this is what we've been waiting for. Like, we love a good storm. It totally changes the energetics. And watching the animals and how they deal with it. Some of them stand out in the rain and don't care. It's like they're energized by it, and there's others who are running for cover. But it really shocked me. But then when I thought about it, we do. And let me tell you, there are a lot of people who spend 95 to 99% of their time inside. It's not really fun for our pets.
Yeah, we used to live in nature. Now we go spend time in nature, which is a total reversal for sure. But it's interesting that you're, talking about storms, and I know that some people here would love to have a storm in their area. Right, Dee? But it feels like, we have such a huge storm happening on this planet right now. just like a global evolutionary storm. And as much as we like storms because it purifies things, and then when it goes through, the sun is shining again, and it's like a perfect comparison to what's happening on this planet right now, because I feel like we're in such a humongous transition like never before, which is really exciting to be here and brings me personally a lot of joy, because stepping outside of it just a little bit, I can see how much amazing change is really happening. We're really moving from this state of fear and survival into this state more of love and peace and community, and our animals are helping us so much with that. And on the whole day 4 was about more of the emotional energetic toxins, and I feel like we're moving through so much of that right now as a population. Do you guys see that as well?
Yeah, for sure. I feel that, there's always that a disbelief, because energy work is so intangible and people are so deeply rooted in their three-dimensional experiences, what they can touch and feel and experience, that it seems like a very big leap of almost faith to understand that we have more power than we believe, with our own thoughts and our emotions, to offset physiology, in a real tangible way. Then and when we embrace that concept, I feel there's a shift that tends to happen in an individual's healing, and also the healing of their animal as well, because you see life from a different perspective. um, it's hard. We've been ingrained in this pill for an ill kind of concept of, in people and in our animals, that it's the more people that actually embraced that they have control over their physiology with with the thoughts that they have and the emotions that they feel, the better they're going to start to feel about that. And you think about things like these moments of what we call spontaneous remissions in human beings, and all of a sudden this body riddled with cancer doesn't have cancer anymore. And that's a miraculous type of a phenomenon, but there is real science behind that phenomenon, where it is a very deep shift in the emotional and mental state of the individual being. And there's lots of books and to read about that. But when you kind of embrace that concept of the fact that it's actually possible to do that, then you kind of feel limitless in your ability to heal. And I see some of these questions, these comments on the side, that people, are asking very specific things, like my animal is sick and I need this remedy, and I want to talk about this because I need this remedy, and how do I do that? So I think a lot of times we just have to start with a change of our perception and our perspective of what healing actually is. Because sometimes it's easy enough to start off, with the diet, right? Just changing something simple, or moving out of what we think is always, what we need to do, like that pill for an ill kind of mentality. And it's a journey. Healing is a journey, and you need to be patient and put in the work. I have met lots of people who want the solution, but they don't want to take the time to get there.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We're always looking for like a particular outcome because, that's what we think it should be. But often, at least in my experience in life, whatever outcome I was looking for and didn't get, whatever I did get was a whole lot better, even if it was a bit painful in the process. So it's totally a journey.
Yeah. And we need, thoughts and emotions is one aspect of it. right? We're still biological beings that need sustenance. We need help. We need to detox from the world. We need certain therapies and homeopathies and herbs and diet and things that we can attain from our holistic veterinarians to help. So that's super important. Those are the symptoms, right? We have to treat the branches, right, and then get to the root of that problem. And everything is connected, so you really can't not do one without the other. I think.
Yeah. I mean, that's why they call medicine an art form, right? It's because it's so individual, and we always try to find one solution for, well, this looks like that, so this has to work for that. But it's not quite that simple, right?
No, not. But yet there are basic things you can do that every individual can benefit, from. Every dog and cat can benefit from, or even every horse or ungulate can benefit from. If what you're doing is trying to, let's talk about detox, okay, because that's what you're mentioning. So if you can optimize the natural functions, then the rest will follow. Yeah, we are mostly energetic beings, but if the physical part of our body is totally clogged up, then no matter how much homeopathy you use, and that's always my first modality, it's very difficult to get over those obstructions, or what I call encumbrances, in order to change the molecules. And because that dark space, that dark matter is where all that juicy, what you were talking about, Barry, that lovely energy is. But you got to help the physical part of that so that it can shift. And if there's so much encumbrance and so much actual even engrafting onto the vital force, engrafting onto the energetic system of the body, these toxins, then it's hard to get that to move. It's hard to feel good in your world. It's easy to be depressed and down, and then all this emotional depression that we're all dealing with, because it's overwhelmed for all of us now, absolutely overwhelmed. And those animals are picking up on that. So anything we can do to kind of lighten the load for everyone. If you're living on a toxic waste dump, you're not going to get any better, right? Well, it's pretty hard to eliminate everything in our environment because it's just, we're swimming in it. But if you can just help lighten that load a little bit, then the allergies are going to improve, the leaky gut's going to improve, their crankiness is going to improve, their sleep is going to improve. That's our job as veterinarians, to recognize, where we can get in and help shift and change this. And I love what you were saying, Odette, about this wonderful time of crisis. I mean, we don't wake up one morning and say, I think I'll transform. Everything always transforms through crises, it seems like. Well, it is. It's true. We have to go through that eye of the needle in order to really transform ourselves. So we're in that time now. It's very powerful, but great potential for deep, profound healing. You're absolutely right. And I'd like to suggest, too, that it's not just the animals helping us, it's us helping them as well. I mean, that's what your whole summit is about, is helping them detox from all the emotional, the physical, everything that they're dealing with. So anyway, that's my job. My job is that, even though we all know that the humans are the primary person that we're trying to get into, we are trained as veterinarians, and our job is to make sure our patients are really benefiting for the knowledge we have and the ability that we have to help them move through these things.
Yeah, as you were talking, Dee, you made me think about this concept called cymatics. I don't know if you are aware of that. It's cymatics, cymatics. And you can look it up on YouTube. And basically what it is, it's a perfect example, I feel, of the shift that we're going through right now. Like Odette was saying, this transformation of energy And in cymatics is using vibration to change matter and structure. So there's a sound plate, and they put either sand or salt on top of it, and and they resonate it at a certain frequency, and then a beautiful geometric pattern comes into play. And as soon as you shift the frequency, elevate the frequency, make it higher, you start to see the sand particles become in this complete disarray and chaos. The structure is breaking down. And then after, a few moments, it starts to reorganize itself into a more intricate, beautiful geometric pattern at a higher frequency. And so that's kind of what I feel like we're just doing. And right now, we're sort of in that chaotic, sort of disorganized reorganization phase as everything is shifting in the world. And we're going into sort of new mindsets and new consciousness and new ideas and new feelings. And I think of the emotional landscape as like a paint palette. You have all of these emotions to choose from, and just like you have all these paints to choose from when you're painting a picture, and you can choose an emotion to feel. We may not like to, and we don't want to take ownership of that, because when we're angry at somebody, we want to stay angry at somebody. We want to feel justified in the feelings that we have of those lower vibrations. I mean, I know what that feels like. Sometimes when I'm really upset about something, it's hard for me to say, "Oh, just it's fine, get over it." And you're like, "No, I want to be mad." So, but if I mindfully shift and say, "Okay, you know what? I don't want to be mad. And if I can't find a good feeling, I go to my memory bank and I put myself right back in that water with that dolphin, and I just close my eyes and say, okay, give me a minute." And then I find it, and then I feel, all I see is dolphins in front of me. And the person who I'm angry at, I'm not angry at anymore.
Well, they're not there anymore.
They're not there.
You made them disappear.
Right. And so it's possible. And the more we do those kind of techniques, the more our brain, our physiology shifts, and there's neural pruning, where the things that trigger us or make us upset or make us angry or make us feel overwhelmed or frustration or irritable just doesn't do that anymore. We just don't feel that way.
That's great. I love that. One time I read I think it was a study I read, I can't remember, so many years ago. There's something about if you're mad for longer than 10 seconds, it's not about what you were mad about. It's something really old. Doesn't that make sense, Judy? I mean, isn't that, like that got in my brain. I thought, oh, this is an old trigger. This is really old stuff, right?
And that gives us an opportunity to stop and become the observer of our own experience and say, okay, wait a minute, what is it that I'm mad about? What was it that happened 10 years ago that had the same feeling as what I'm experiencing now? Because the more we can go through our layers and sort of kind of look at ourselves, not through judgment, not through the eyes of good, bad, right, or wrong, but just like it's an event. And you want to get rid of that. And, there's a saying in a work is what's coming is going. And as soon as it comes up to present itself to you and you recognize it as a problem, a lot of times it dissipates and it doesn't become that problem anymore. Our bodies, we have an amazing ability to heal, and the magic lives within us all the time. I think about DNA and epigenetics and protein folding and all those crazy things that are happening in the cell, those billions of reactions that are happening constantly. I'm not in control of that at all. And thank goodness, because I forget where I put my glasses half the time.
It's on your head.
Right? Good thing I'm not in charge of protein folding and, DNA mutation, snippets and things. So, but the body is, and where does that information come from? Where does that intelligence come from? It's that divineness inside of us, and it's there, and our bodies want us to be well. We're designed for health, and our animals are designed for health. And
the subject, it's just, it basically, It's the law of attraction. So when you only focus on, I'm never going to have enough money, I'm never going to have enough money, guess what? You're attracting, I'm never going to have enough money. When you're focused on, and we can apply this to our animals, we can apply this to ourselves, we can apply it to anything around us. But what you are focused on is what shows up for you. And so one of the things that, and I'm trying to figure out how to put this without sounding like I'm being mean, but
You don't mean that to you.
sometimes, I would see people, and I still see it now, even with emails that I get with animals that are struggling with whatever, whether it's cancer, allergies, autoimmune disease, whatever their problem is. And the owner becomes so hyper focused on cancer. And like, I would have clients that literally would drag their animal to 3 different oncologists a day. They would be in 10 veterinary offices a week. And, all the animal wanted to do was go run in the backyard and chase a ball.
Right.
And have fun and enjoy life. And I think that sometimes we get so hyper focused on the negative, there is no chance for positive. I have a really good friend, to what Barry was talking about earlier, stage 4 ovarian cancer, a colonel in the Air Force. She's a brilliant physicist. And pictures of her in the hospital when she was given a week to live, looks like she's 9 months pregnant with her distended abdomen with the cancer. And she said, I'm done with this. I'm not doing any more chemo, walked away from it. She is 100% cancer free. She's about 10 years out from it. And it was not through being hyper focused on killing the cancer and doing chemo. It was when she gave all of that up. And, it's exactly what you were saying, that you see these miracle cures where people become focused on something totally different, energetics and energies and the healing ability of the molecules within us and our environment. And so I just want to caution people, really, that sometimes I feel like I'm lackadaisical with my animals, but they have a pile of vomit, and I'm like, okay, move on. And I don't hyper focus on it. And I'm like, oh, was there anything serious going on here? No. But I think that sometimes it's the pill for the ill. We're so quick to get hyper focused on the negative side. And I think we need to just look at it and say, okay, well, we're going to do something to help the physical body, but we also have to really mentally focus on the positive outcome, the positive side of it, not being stuck in, oh my God, he's going to have these horrible allergies forever. Oh my God, he's going to, be stuck with whatever, pick a
Right. I mean, I had a client of mine who, she lost her husband. The dog was bonded to the husband. It was a 3-year-old dog. The husband had kidney cancer, and the dog was actually sitting on the husband in the last few days of its life. And this 3-year-old dog ended up having kidney changes, ultrasonographically, but not numerically. So the kidneys were functioning well, but the dog was such an empathic kind of a dog. He was invested in the mom so much that every time she would cry or get emotional about the loss of her husband, her dog would start vomiting and having GI issues. And it took a little while of our relationship to sort of pinpoint that. We did a lot of work around pancreatitis and GI stuff and food changes and supplements and herbs and all this other things. And then it came down to, everything was working, but yet not quite. And the icing on the cake was when mom had that conversation with me about that phenomenon. And we did some inner work with her and I. And then she said her dog stopped vomiting. She started, and she felt better. And she started off not crying in front of her dog, but they know anyway somehow.
Right.
They just know that. But she she did hiking and she did other outdoor things and she took care of herself and her dog stopped vomiting. And so, I think our medicine takes us so far, and then you have to check in with that energetic relationship between the two if you really want it to go further. That last little step. Like not focusing on the cancer, but focusing on the wellness.
Yeah, I love what you guys said, because I find that when I see the animals and people are all stressed out about their animals' health, it's like the connection gets lost and the animal all of a sudden is actually alone, because the people are not connecting with the individual anymore. They're so focused on the disease, and that can be very difficult for the animals. And usually what I hear from them is like, I'm okay, just take a breath, everything's fine. And that's something that is important. But I know that when animals are sick, people, animals are people's lifeline on oftentimes, and so I have so much compassion for that. At the same time, it's also where most of the healing is in that connection with the animal. And especially when it gets a little closer to the end, it's easy to miss out on the beautiful time together when we focus so much on their disease in a way. So we kind of lose that. But I don't want to, it's not meant as a judgment or anything like that, because we're just human and we're fragile little beings when it comes to our hearts, because we have really good memory about things that happened in life and where we got hurt and so on. And so we often will get triggered, and the animals are really good at bringing all of these hurt sort of places up and these wounds, because they go right into the heart. And so they basically are like, there's no barrier there. It's like they're right in there. And so it makes it more challenging. But at the same time, I think because of that, they're amazing facilitators of change and growth. Because, I mean, how many people do we all see who gave like a Bravecto or something, and the animal got really sick from it, and then that put them on the path of discovery, of detox, whatever it may be.
Right.
So in that sense, they're just amazing facilitators, and they're really helping to help. They help us heal, like the deep wounds. They help expose the deep wounds and then give us the opportunity and the love. I mean, that amazing love they give us all the time to heal.
Yeah. I had a client long time ago. This was like 20 years ago, and she was a beautiful, beautiful woman. Loves animals. Her life is devoted to her animals, and there was a pathological emotional attachment to this particular pet, and he was dying. He came into the ER. He was riddled with cancer. He was at end stage. We had already failed out of 2 rounds of chemo. He was out of remission. He was anemic, needed a blood transfusion, needed a plasma transfusion, but he was dying. And mom could not let go of him. She could not let go. And so she said, no, you have to give him the blood products. You have to give him the blood products and save his life. And I knew I wasn't going to do that. I mean, he was not going to live. And part of our job is to help with that ease of passing, right? And transitioning through life. So I did what she asked. I gave the blood products. I gave the blood. I gave the plasma. And I explained to her, I said, I as kindly as I could, I said, this is not going to work. Your dog, he's tired. The body is done, and it's time for him to go. And so we did all that, and the dog passed on his own. And 10 years later, the woman, I saw her again, in the ER, and she came to me and she said, "Dr. Sands, I want to thank you so much for that night when you were with my pet." And I said, why? She said, "Well, whatever you said to me that night made me look at my own life." And I was an alcoholic. And it was after that passing of my dog, and I realized that it had a different meaning for me, and it led me on the path to not being an alcoholic anymore. And so she was sober that day after, and that was her journey. And it was that moment in time that something happened, that something just shifted inside of her that just made her heal on her own, find her own path of healing. And she was forever grateful for me. I never knew that. I would have never known that, had I not seen her. But I feel like we touch people's lives in many, many different ways on different levels. And, you don't know the domino effect that it's going to have, on that person's relationship and whoever they're going to touch and they're going to share. So I don't know the solution. You try to solve all the big problems in the world, but it's one kindness at a time,
Yeah.
whether it's to yourself, to your animals, to a stranger. I think that's the solution.
No.
I think that's one of the biggest. Sorry. Go ahead, Judy.
Some of my cancer patients and my own dog that had cancer. People, even if the dog, because we change things, when they come to me, it's like, okay, well, we're going to put them on a different diet. We're going to, put them on supplements. We're going to do things to try to help support the body, because I didn't do chemo with my own dog. I did do chemo, and I'm not sure if it was the right thing to do or not, but at the time it seemed to be. But it still made changes for me, because one of the things, when people come to me with an animal with cancer, one, we're going to do what we can to make them better, which usually is going to include you're going to make some really good, healthy food for them. And so many people came back to me after they would work with their animals with cancer, and even if they only lived a few weeks or a few months. And many of them said, you know what, those were the best months of my life with my pet, because I felt like I was finally taking control of being helpful to them, that I was connected to them. I wasn't just throwing dry kibble on a bowl and walking away anymore. I was taking the time to put love and energy and care into what I was preparing and feeding them. And they loved it and ate like they'd never eaten before, because now they're finally getting something really good. But one of the things that I also included in my regimen with anybody with an animal with a terminal illness is get out and make your bucket list. Go do. So every morning, my dog lived for 8 weeks from her diagnosis till we let her go. And every morning, my husband and I would get up and say, what's on Myra's to-do list today? And it not only deepened my connection with my husband, but it also made us slow down and spend time. And so we took her to restaurants for lunch, and we went to pet stores, and we went to, we found every park and trail within an hour of us that we had never seen before. And I think that, again, like Odette said at the very beginning, out of chaos and catastrophe, you can find joy and peace. And actual happiness, even though there's this cloud overlying, because if you don't focus on the cloud and instead you focus on being present and just that connection, I mean, maybe a miracle will occur, maybe a miracle won't occur, but at least you'll be able to say, as I was able to say with my dog, and as so many of my clients were able to say, those were the best 3, 6, 8 weeks, whatever it was. And I'm so thankful for that time that I had, and actually slowed down and made that connection for both myself and for the animal. So I think that even though tragedy strikes, we can find good and positive. And we we can help ourselves. It's just like the woman who was no longer an alcoholic after the loss of her dog.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it takes, I mean, I did something years ago, but one of the statements was, from every breakdown comes a breakthrough. And you just have to have that breakdown to have the breakthrough. When you think about alcoholics, they have to hit rock bottom usually before they say, okay, I'm done. So sometimes we have to hit rock bottom with our own health, our pet's health, and then look at it from a different perspective. It would be nice if we could look at it from that different perspective from the beginning. We might save ourselves a lot of worry and tragedy, but
yeah. And also, I don't think we need to, and from everything we know now about all these beautiful ways of healing and how the world works and our energy and physical ways and our mind, body, spirit connections, we don't have to wait to those moments of crisis. We don't have to wait till we're at the we've lost it all and we're sitting in the gutter, getting rained upon before we decide to, change our lives. We don't need, we can shift it without crisis. I think we just need to give ourselves permission to do so, to say, all right, let's do it. Let's go out. You don't have cancer. That's great. Let's go out and play. Why wait? Let's just take an opportunity today to slow down. We don't need a catastrophic reason to pamper ourselves, to make ourselves important, or, put ourselves first and our animals first. And, the only excuse that we have is we don't need one. It's just because we want to go out in the sun. We want to go to the beach. We want to, enjoy life. And just, the more we self-care, and the more we decide to, have that fun time, then it'll become normal. It'll just like anything else. It'll become normal, and then you'll feel better. you just will.
Yeah, it's such an important subject, because I know we were going to sort of do a bit of a Q&A, but this is really, really important, guys, because as veterinarians, we see so much pain and suffering, and this is important. This is where the solution lies. It's not focusing on little bumps here and there, because we have to focus on the bigger picture of the love. And the love is, as many here have shared, is what really changes. Love is what heals, and love for ourselves in particular, because I think that we're quite good at loving our animals, but loving ourselves, that's a whole other story. And I know from my own experience with myself. And so, this is what's really important, is to drop back into the heart and really learn to love ourselves and get out of that guilt and judgment and beating ourselves up, trying to be perfect. And I know I'm talking to myself mostly right now, but this is the change that's happening, where people are coming together, where people are finding more of their own passion. A lot of people are changing jobs, or finding better things for them, or being kinder to themselves, and our animals are certainly helping us tremendously, because they're shining a light on things that are or aren't working, depending. And so, yeah, this is a very important conversation. So I know we need to kind of slow down and kind of get off here a little bit, but just, some final parting words from the three of you. Dr. D, if you had something that you want to leave people with, that is like a pearl of wisdom that you've gathered over your gazillion years.
I guess I would say, and I think we've already said this, but I would just say, be kind to yourself, because it's difficult to navigate these things. And I guess I would say the other thing is, listen to yourself carefully. The people that are on this summit, other than the four ladies here, probably not too many veterinarians there. They're probably, lay people. And you're not going to have all the answers. You're not going to know. It's going to get confusing when you get a diagnosis. It's painful. And there's a lot of worry and suffering over what they're suffering about. So I always say, trust your heart, trust yourself. Only you know your animal better than anyone. You're the primary healthcare provider on call 24/7. So get the information you need from Dr. Morgan, from Dr. Sands, Dr. Suter, Dr. Blanca, whoever you're doctoring with, but then follow your heart about it. Do not, just because you are a layperson does not mean you don't have the answers. And so trusting yourself in that regard, I think, is really, really important, especially if you get a difficult diagnosis. Don't go overwhelmed. Don't get opinions from 55 people. That'll just confuse you. But when something resonates with you and feels good in your heart, then just go with that. When it stops feeling good in your heart, stop it and find something else that feels good for your dog. Your dog, your cat will tell you, I like this, I don't like this. And because there are a million ways to heal. And there's medicine right out our door. The gods have given us incredible medicine right outside our door. So just go with that. That's what I would say, if anything, at this moment in time. I hope that helps.
Thank you. I love that. I love that. Dr. Judy, what would be yours? Or do you have too many?
Yeah.
It's hard to narrow down.
Somebody said that they don't feel like this talk is talking about detoxing our dogs. And actually, I do think that this is about detoxing our dogs and our lives and ourselves, because if we don't have an emotional detox, like if we can't get rid of all the negativity surrounding ourselves and our thoughts about what's going on with our pets, I think it puts a roadblock to healing if we can't get rid of that negative. And again, we start to sound like we're talking about something a little, I don't know, woo-woo fairy dust, but visualize your animal healthy, visualize yourself healthy, visualize I'm a huge believer in vision boards. I'm a follower of Jack Canfield, and he is really into you visualize, you talk about, you make statements like, I'm so happy now that my dog is free from cancer and living his best life. And you repeat that mantra every day. You visualize your animal being healthy. You visualize what it is that you want to do. And I get interviewed all the time about my life and how I got to where I am now. And I did not plan any of this. And I say that it is a series of fortunate accidents. None of it's accidental. Things were thrown in my path. And, I was given the choice of, hey, you want to step into that, or do you want to step over that, or go around that, or back off from that? And so it is very critical as far as part of our detox. And our world is pretty toxic. Mm-hmm. So I think that we need to step into looking for the positive and visualizing things from the other side, the healthy side, the happy side, the enjoying life side. Your dog may have cancer, but that doesn't mean they can't go out and do a smell tour in the yard. If they can walk, put them in a wagon, stroller, carry them. I don't know. One of the most vivid, wonderful photos that was ever posted on the internet was the guy with his ancient dog swimming, holding the dog on his shoulder. And, that was someone who was really connected with that dog. And he was going to spend every minute up to the last minute caring for that dog and loving that dog and having that connection. And I think that we need to look at that more. And medicine is great. And I agree with Barry that I did emergency for 10 years and loved it, but emergency room, that's where Western medicine shines. But, I think we really need to focus on the good parts and really visualize good, happy, healthy, and we might have a better chance of getting there.
Yeah.
That's my fairy dust for today.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for, picking up on that question or the concern as well that we're not talking about toxins. I think it's really important that we understand that, that we can be quite toxic to not just our animals, and it's not a judgment, it's just we're humans. But if we don't work on ourselves and work on our own issues a bit and address our own, challenges, then we put it on everybody else. We spread it around, including our animals. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah. And somebody said that, when you put a question on social media, you get answers from 100 people. Well, what you should do, what you should give, what you should treat. That's what happens when you ask 100 people, you get 100 answers.
Good luck with that.
Confusing, and most of them don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and Barry, any parting words of wisdom?
Yeah, I want to remind people, everyone, that in our animals and in life forms and in ourselves, there is this innate, intuitive intelligence that lives within us, that loves us more than we love ourselves, that knows us more than we know ourselves, that's only desire is to create health within our bodies. And when we use our intuition to tap into that knowing, that source of divine wisdom just comes through. And then, like Dee was saying, you know what to do when you listen to that intuition, that heart knowledge that we have inside of us. And there are only basically 5 things in our lives that we actually have control over. And it's pretty simple. And I like to remember that because we have 5 fingers. And so each finger tells me what I have control over to remember. And it's pretty simple because everything else that this divine intelligence is going to take care of. One, we have the choice of the things that we choose to put in our bodies and in the bodies of our animals, like what foods, what substances, the waters that we drink. We have a choice of how we move the body. Are we going to sit on the couch and play? Or are we going to go outside in the yard? What are we going to do? We have a choice of the thoughts that we think, the emotions we feel. And the 5th one, it's an automatic thing, but we have a choice on how we breathe and the mindfulness that we have with that breath. And taking a deep breath, being mindful about every once in a while, just breathing that in and letting that go and relaxing through that. Your animals will find you. They will gravitate towards you when you're in those states of beings. They want to be around that. And, just it's okay. And don't be so hard on yourself. Honestly, your animals love you forever. They do. No matter what you do, no matter what you say, no matter how you act, they love you, and we love them back. And it's okay. It's okay to love them. It's okay. Yeah, it's okay. And, as Judy was saying, Dr. Judy was saying that, when you're filled with all of this information overload of what to do and how to get results, like Dee was resonating with, when you hear it, does it make sense? Does it fit with you? Does it resonate with your being? And you'll know when it works, you'll know. When it doesn't work, you'll also know. So just, follow that. And there's I don't know how many people on the summit, 25 beautiful, holistic doctors that are, waiting out there to help everybody. So I'm sure. Yeah.
I love that. I love what you guys all said, because in the end, I think this period of time that we're all going through as a, world is really about self-empowerment, where we have to take our power back. And I would add to that, as my little pearl of wisdom, enlist your animal's power in everything so that they can help you with the decisions, because they're individuals who have a soul and are have their own ideas about things, and they make their own choices and are responsible for their lives, and they want to help, they want to be partners. And so let them be partners so that that burden, in the sense, is not all on you, so that you can share that with each other. And so that, yeah, so that would make it so much easier as well, if you're not the only one responsible for your animal's well-being, but allow them to also be responsible for their own well-being, to at least to some extent. I mean, sure, you don't let them go eat the whole bag of kibble and that sort of thing, but they want to be partners, you know. So we just need to listen to them and take in that wisdom. So anyways, thank you so much, ladies, for being here. And also thank you to all of you who have tuned into to today, and also the whole Dog Detox Summit, because, you know, it's us veterinarians who may be giving you some of that information, but in the end, it's you guys who are running with it and are changing the world. And I am eternally grateful for that, you know, that there are so many people out there throwing little pebbles into the pond, and the ripple is just growing and growing from all of you. And without you, our message wouldn't go anywhere. So thank you so much for your hearts, for everything that you do for your animals, for showing up, for, you know, being on this journey that is not easy, and for taking it all in, and for spreading the love. And yeah. Thank you for being here. It's been an amazing journey to put this summit together with everybody. A lot of joy, and thank you for the gift of receiving it, because, you know, when we give something, it almost seems like we're always getting more back. So I feel so blessed, you know, by all of you guys. Thank you. So much love to everybody, and from me and to all of you. I feel like I'm bursting here. I hope you guys can
Excellent.
but
Thank you.
all, I love you
Thank
so
you.
much. Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right. Good
That's
night.
all.